This is Minister Sitri Tommy Lucifer. I've written a little something in the great BAFOSatan tomb. It was that important. And I hope this will enlighten some of you, give you hope, give you confidence, something. But I wanted to talk to our community today. If religion is the heroin of the masses, then Satanism is the rehab center. There is no denying that we are facing threats that we never thought were possible. Our whole movement politically acted as a warning, but we only thought it would be a warning. Well, I did anyway. I thought I'd never hear the cries from the past echo so loudly in the ears of humanity that it deafens us. When I claim education was key, I would dare someone to challenge me now. When most people who are voting for these people to get into power are two types of people. The 1%, the rich, the powerful, and uneducated people. And one does inform the other. If you're watching this video, then it means that you have chosen the satanic path. You saw something in the story of Lucifer and Satanism as a whole that spoke to you. And to me, you are naturally woke. You are naturally someone who seeks knowledge. You are naturally someone who knows what's going on in the world. Fact pictured. We like to be factual. I want to thank you guys. I want to say to you how proud I am of you guys, because it takes balls to be the adversary. It takes balls to stand up for justice, freedom. But by relating to the archetype of the fallen angel, or by finding clarity in Satanism, it means that, again, you are a seeker of knowledge. You are someone who will question things. You are someone who won't stand and say, okay, I'll be a sheep. I'll follow. We're goats. So thank you for this journey. I know it's not easy sometimes, but it is right. I just wanted to reflect on the story of Satan and the serpent in the Garden of Eden, and how Eve bit the fruit. The serpent said to Eve, "For God knows that when you eat from it, your eyes will be opened, and you will be like God, knowing right from wrong." We bit that fruit. We've stood our ground. Please continue to do so. Please continue to do so. It's great to stand in our truth at the moment, but remember, you've got to be safe. Protect yourself however you see necessary. Protect your loved ones, protect your friends, protect your family, protect your fellow Satanist. Don't give up. Keep doing the research. Pass on the knowledge and research to others. Find your strengths. I know you have them. I know you have them. Zone in on your strengths and use that ability in your communities at the moment. And as far as I'm concerned, if you're watching this message, then you are awake and woke, and you know what is going on. And we always knew what was going on. We sort of, again, didn't think it would get to this far, but we were aware. So every single person watching this video, my eyes, is educated and worthy of being here. Don't doubt yourself. But remember this, it's better to reign in hell than serve in heaven. Now I've spoken to you about the importance of knowledge in these situations and times that we find ourselves in. I'd like to present our video on satanic sex. This is about bodily autonomy, this is about diversity, and this is about consent, and how these all link back to Lupercalia. Hail Satan and happy Lupercalia 2026.
The demonic and sex throughout history. For centuries, Satan has been blamed for all sorts of shenanigans, bad weather, rebellious kids, and suspiciously well-seasoned barbecue. Seriously, why does it always taste better when it's slightly burnt, especially sausages? But of all the things humans have credited to the Prince of Darkness, his alleged obsession with sex is by far the most exciting and entertaining. Romantic Satanism, sex, science, and liberty. One of the pillars of romantic Satanism states that sex transcends human and godly laws. Their philosophy has three main components: sex, science, liberty. They describe Satan's connection to sex as follows. A third complex of meaning links Satan with earth, nature, and the flesh, particularly in its manifestations of passionate love and sex. Already from the time of the apocryphal story of the Watcher Angels, the fallen angels had been brought into connection with lust, temptation, and the works of the flesh. This pornification of Satan found ample continuation in later Christian law and probably reached its apogee in the demonological fantasies of the early modern era. The Romantics accorded an almost divine status to passionate love, which transcended human and godly laws. Romantic Satanists supported notions of free love and female liberation. The poet Alfred de Vigny beautifully captured this theme of physical and spiritual liberation in his poem Satan. La nature, attentive aux lois de mon pierre, accueille avec amour, m'écoute et me respire. Je redeviens son âme, et pour mes doux projets, du fond des éléments j'évoque mes sujets, which translates to, listening to the laws of my reign, receives me lovingly, hears me, makes me her breath. I become its soul again, and for my sweet designs, evoke my subjects from deep within the elements. From medieval monks having too many spicy dreams to modern conspiracy theorists convinced that pop stars are performing satanic orgies in their music videos. The devil always seems to have his pitchfork in everyone's bedroom business. So let's take a deeper, more playful look at why Lucifer is forever linked to love, lust, and latex. The original bad boy of the Bible. Satan didn't start off as the horned, horny, smooth-talking seducer we imagine today. In the Old Testament, he was more of a cosmic prosecutor, basically God's grumpy lawyer. But over time, humans apparently decided that being a divine tattletale wasn't sexy enough. Thus, the birth of seductive evil. I mean, come on, who likes lawyers? Enter the Middle Ages, where Christian theologians really put their imaginations to work. Satan went from bureaucratic nuisance to the source of all things sinful, especially lust. And because nothing excites religious scholars more than warning people about pleasure, they started adding some truly wild details. Suddenly Satan was showing up in bedrooms disguised as a sexy stranger. Women were warned about incubi, demons who seduced them in their sleep. Meanwhile, men were terrorized with tales of succubi, beautiful but deadly demonesses who could drain their life force and, conveniently, their bank accounts. It's been written that both demons swing both ways, so even us queers weren't safe from these lustful deviants. Let's put a pin in succubi for now and move on to the dangers of feminine sexuality, women's lust and the devil. At one point, women's natural desires were considered satanic. The infamous Malleus Maleficarum 1487, a witch-hunting handbook, described women as more susceptible to the devil's tricks because, wait for it, they were naturally lustful. This was, of course, extremely convenient for any man who wanted to blame a scandalous affair on witchcraft, rather than on his own poor choices. The burning times cast a shadow over history, demonizing women who owned their sexuality. The stereotypical witch's broomstick? It was phallic. According to the Hammer of Witches, witches were believed to steal men's penises and hide them in trees. Now that's what I call morning wood. Eve, Lilith, and the birth of the succubus. Some theologians claim that Eve's sin in the Garden of Eden wasn't just eating the fruit, it was having sex with Satan. This led to the birth of Cain, evil, Satan's child, and Abel, good, Adam's child, yet my favourite legend, Lilith. Lilith was Adam's first wife, but she refused to submit to him sexually, so God damned her, making her the first queen of demons. Lilith has since become a feminist icon, especially in satanic circles. In some Christian artwork, the serpent in the Garden of Eden has breasts, suggesting that Lilith herself gave Eve the fruit, not Satan. So maybe the devil is a woman after all. The church versus the devil's dirty work. As history marched on, Satan's role as humanity's ultimate bad influence expanded. The church, being the fun police that it was, linked nearly all forbidden pleasures to him. Enjoying romance outside of marriage, Satan's whispering in your ear, feeling an overwhelming attraction to your neighbour's very handsome husband. Clearly, demonic influence, Satan, rock and roll, and the sexual revolution. Fast forward a few centuries and the devil was still busy corrupting innocent minds, this time through music. By the 20th century, sex had become more openly discussed, and naturally, Satan got dragged into the conversation. Rock and roll, with its gyrating hips and rebellious lyrics, was immediately labelled as the devil's music. Parents clutched their pearls as Elvis dared to move his hips. By the S, heavy metal bands were being accused of hiding satanic messages in their songs. Spoiler, they weren't. But they leaned into the marketing opportunity hard. The 1960s and 70s saw the rise of the free love movement, and guess what? People started claiming that was satanic too. For once, their accusations might not have been entirely baseless. The sexual revolution of the 60s was apparently inspired by none other than Aleister Crowley, the occultist, founder of Thelema, and self-proclaimed Great Beast 666. Crowley even appeared on the front cover of the Beatles' Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band, confirming what many had speculated. Crowley, known for his sex magic rituals, predicted that within a century, people would reject Christianity and that the world would see the rise of Crowleyanity. He was right. As an openly bisexual man, he foresaw the future well. The two SLGBTQIA+ community and Satanism. The two SLGBTQIA+ community and Satanism have a long intertwined history. One of the earliest records of homosexuality being linked to Satanism comes from the Luciferians in. When sometimes there are many more men than women, the men, swept with ignoble passions and the unquenchable fire of their desires, perform their shameful acts in men, in the same way as they would make natural use of them when they would have been women, which is against nature, and in which way they make themselves worthy of damnation. This was obviously meant as an insult, but by the 1960s, Satanism became a symbol of self-identification for many in the LGBTQ+ community. With the publication of the Satanic Bible, Anton LaVey promoted sexual liberation, stating, "Satanism encourages any type of sexual expression you may desire, so long as it hurts no one else." This, of course, includes consent. Later, in 2013, the Satanic Temple TST performed the Pink Mass, a symbolic protest against homophobia, particularly targeting the anti-LGBTQ+ Westboro Baptist Church. The ritual was meant to posthumously turn Fred Phelps' mother into a homosexual in the afterlife, mocking Christian beliefs about spiritual transformation. The Pink Mass highlighted the Satanic Temple's commitment to LGBTQ+ rights and its use of satire to challenge religious bigotry. While Satanism and the LGBTQ+ community are not inherently connected, Satanism has been embraced by many as a way of reclaiming power from Abrahamic oppression. Why should the devil have all the fun? Anton LaVey embraced Satanism's reputation for indulgence, pleasure, and desire. He asked, "Why should the devil have all the fun?" Satanic imagery has long been associated with sexual empowerment rather than shame. Some artists and celebrities even use demonic aesthetics as a way to reclaim control over their own image. Back to the world of music, Crowley did inspire the Beatles, but also sex icons like Jimmy Page of Led Zeppelin and film icons like Kenneth Anger, who made Lucifer Rising and the first LGBTQIA+ film in Hollywood history, Fireworks. In modern witchcraft, the mystical art of turning bedtime stories into sacred rituals sees sex as the ultimate spell. Accepting and understanding lust can be your ticket to a higher state of consciousness and spiritual growth. Think of it as the secret ingredient to your magical potion. On the flip side, repressing lust is like trying to brew a potion without a cauldron. It just doesn't work, but embrace it consensually and with patience, and you'll conjure a deeper connection with yourself and others, making your ritual and witchcraft truly perceivable. Crowley was detrimental and major influence on the modern witch movement, as well as self-proclaimed nudist Gerald Gardner, the founder of the Wiccan religion. So of course, being a part of the occult, this trickled down into the satanic orgies rumour, an act of pure indulgence springing from the Sabbath rumours of the 1600s, where witches would kiss the behind of the devil and dance naked ritualistically around fires according to legend. One very upsetting legend was that the devil had a cold, sharp, hard penis, which at face value is hilarious. Edward Cullen springs to mind. However, the reality of this witch's confession, which was common, was simply because poor defenseless victim was being tortured with, yup, you guessed it, implements which were ice cold, brutally sharp, and made of hard metal. May we remember those who fell victim to these past satanic panics.
So, why was sex important to talk about today, with everything that's going on? That answer will be at the very end of this. But, of course, sex in modern culture and politics is off the scale right now. But what I wanted to talk about was consent. You have idiots like
we
this.
Control your bodies. Guess what? Guys win again. It's your body, my...
Then to the left of this, you've got someone talking about Roe versus Wade and how much impact that's had. But it ultimately comes down to idiots like this.
He was not somebody who called for violence, but he certainly was at the edge of the MAGA movement, perhaps the vanguard. And there's a few examples.
Young women need to do a much better job of saving themselves from marriage. They need to be they need to prioritize purity again. Young men need to too, but if young women do it, then young men will.
He makes statements about women should be this and that and this and that. Well, you know, what planet is this guy from? He emerges from some sort of cocoon to talk about what women should do, and he's got 2,000 years of history to prove it. Whose history?
Exactly. Whose history? I've come to a conclusion recently, and this might sound a bit far-fetched, but I believe that the masculine are the target of the patriarchy. I used to think it was the feminine, but I don't anymore, because the masculine are the ones who are getting killed in wars, who are, you know, working all day, who have this massive amount of pressure. You know, you look at ending of life, self-ending of life statistics, and it's men, or masculine people. And I think that this filters down and this affects everybody and everything. You know, you have all these like male podcasts, this masculine podcast sort of like ideology, and it's all very like woe is me almost. But there was something really interesting which I've been thinking about, and it's what I was describing at the beginning of this video about with education and the seeking of knowledge. When we look at the fall of man and when Eve bit the apple, this represents like three things. It represents appetite, it represents aesthetic, and it represents ambition. And what are the three things that the masculine will try and suppress within the feminine? Feminine aren't allowed to have an appetite, the feminine have to be aesthetically pleasing, and the feminine are not allowed to have any ambition, because it goes against the very nature of Christianity. When we look at how Christianity is suppressed and demonized sex, it is unreal. Everybody has had consequences of these things. Doesn't matter if what sexuality you are, you still will have guilt about sex regardless of how you identify or what job you have. These things are ingrained into our society,
And at the moment, we've got these news stories of like how twisted sex has become. Satanic sex is about consent. It is about owning your body, owning your sexuality, not being afraid of it. And it doesn't matter even if you're asexual. Satanic sex isn't just about sex. It's about bodily autonomy. And it's about reversing what Christianity has ingrained in us. Because even if you grew up religious or not, it doesn't matter. It's ingrained into our society. Because if you weren't having sex to reproduce, then it was a sin. It don't matter what sexuality you are. You're not having sex to reproduce. It's sinful and missionary style as well. There's a lot that I can go into here, but it's something to think about. There's 3 parts to modern romantic Satanism, which are key, which are spelled out in the Children of Lucifer, and that's sex, science, and liberty. And sex is a massively important part of our Satanism. Not because we, have wild orgies and, have sex with goats or whatever the Christian right might want to throw at us, but because it was Christianity that put the emphasis on sex. It was Christianity that has demonized sex, that has twisted it in so many different ways. So sex is satanic. It can be about the act of sex, it can be about bodily autonomy, or it can be about consent. Sex is satanic. So in the spirit of Lupercalia and being self-loving, hail yourselves and have a fantastic one. Hail Satan.